Good morning, TASCTV viewers. Welcome to TASC Roots. My name is Gunay Evinch. I co-chair the Turkish American National Steering Committee and host the TASC Roots TV program. On TASC Roots, we reach out to heritage communities. So far, we have, for example, hosted the Macedonian, Albanian, Somali American communities. Today, we are going to host the Sephardic Jewish American community of both the United States as well as Istanbul, Turkey. Today, I'd like to welcome to the program Franz Katzir. He is the director of the Sephardic Heritage International Group, and Renan Koen, who is a pianist, composer, member of the Jewish community of Istanbul and of Turkey. She is a counselor on the Turkish Jewish Committee in Istanbul. Welcome, everyone.
Thank you.
Oh, it's a pleasure to be here.
Yes, it's a pleasure for you to be here as well.
Thank you. So, a little bit about Turkish Jewish heritage. It is both ancient as well as recently as receiving Jews that were saved during the Holocaust. And in between, there's, of course, the European Inquisitions that persecuted the Jews of Europe. And we are mostly aware of the Iberian experience and the Ottoman Empire welcoming the Jews of Spain into the Ottoman lands. Franz, tell us a little bit about SHIN, the Sephardic Heritage International.
So again, thank you so much for having us. A good place to start is our mission. Sephardic Heritage International in DC, or SHIN DC, builds intercultural bridges while raising awareness of Sephardic and other underrepresented Jewish heritages and the cultures, arts, and history of the Middle East, North Africa, the Iberian Peninsula, Greece, the Balkans, and Central and Western Asia. And that certainly includes Turkey and the Jews of the Ottoman Empire. And we say Sephardic and other underrepresented Jewish heritages, as for example, before the Spanish Jews arrived in Turkey, there is Jewish history going back to the 5th century BCE, some of which is portrayed in Christian writings. And so our work also encompasses that. And it's really, when it comes down to it, it's about educating people about those communities, and it's a work of cultural diplomacy, being able to build bridges, or as I prefer to say, it's really about rediscovering bridges that are already there. But of course, in your mission statement, you say building bridges, and so that's what the organization does.
Very, very nice. And Renan, your family is of Sephardic heritage. They settled a long time ago when the Ottoman Empire welcomed into its lands, including the Balkans, from Albania, Bosnia, Greece, all the way to southern Turkey, what is today Turkey. And so tell us about you. Tell us about your family. How did you arrive? And now you are in Istanbul and you represent the Turkish Jewish community.
Yes, I ended up in Istanbul finally, but my family came from Spain, and they stopped in Tastoria, where is in Greece today. An Ottoman name was Kesriye, and they stopped there for 400 years. And then what happened, my great-grandfather came for business reasons. I don't know what happened in Tastoria. Nobody knows in family, but for business reasons, they moved to first Eskişehir and then Konya, and then they went to Adana, and then they stopped in Mersin. And then after years, they moved to Istanbul. So what happened, my grandmother has the older sister, and she stayed with her family because she was already married in Castoria. So they stayed there, but what happened, they moved to New York. So I have a large family in New York too. And that's how we spread it to the world, and that's how I'm in Istanbul.
Very nice. Franz, what's your background, your Sephardic background?
So not only am I the product of diverse grandparents from Morocco, Syria, and Austria who lived in Latin America, I'm also the product of Sephardic Jewish communities with members from even more places than that, but very much connected by some history in the Ottoman Empire. The Syrian part has Ottoman roots that were transplanted in the early 20th century, and even the Austrian part has some Ottoman roots going back a couple centuries. And so, that's our background. I grew up here in the U.S. and I say, fortunately, we also have Renan Koen here with us, an accomplished member of Sephardic Heritage International in D.C. To be able to share more about what's going on in Turkey today, the Turkish Jewish community.
Well, in my family, we have a beautiful Sephardic experience. My grandparents immigrated to Turkey from the Balkans. And in those times in Western Turkey, there was a refugee place in Manisa. And 15,000 pretty much refugees from the Balkans, both Turkish Jews and Turkish Muslims. And in his neighborhood, there were two Sephardic Jewish boys, his best friends. And they grew up together. All three of them together, well-liked boys, but also adventurous boys. And they all got scholarships to become electricians in Ankara. And then what happened is the big universities in Istanbul said, "Hey, send me your best students." So they all went to Yıldız University. And then they became engineers. And then University of Michigan said, "Hey, send me your best." And then they went to the University of Michigan for their masters, and they stayed. But my father will always remember, after the Ottoman Empire disintegrated and the Turkish Republic was created, there weren't that many older people, professionals. Many of the men who were either in their 18s or many of the men in the military had died in wars, and women as well. So a 16-year-old Jewish girl from Istanbul came to Manisa to be a school teacher. That was her job. And it was my father's, her name was Rona. And it was my father's wonderful experience to have such a good teacher. She was a kid, according to my dad, but she was so smart and so motivating. And in the end, she moved to Büyükada for retirement, and we got to visit her before she passed away. So it was. So I wanted to share that experience that we have had, and with the Turkey's beautiful Sephardic heritage. I would say the Ottoman Empire's beautiful Sephardic heritage. So Franz, you were talking about activities you're undertaking globally, and particularly in the United States. I've been following those, and I commend you on those. And I saw the presence you had in the Turkish Festival in Washington, D.C., I think the Turkish Festival now attracts more than 25,000 people in 2 days. And you had a pretty good, beautiful stand there for SHIN. So tell us about some of the programs you're undertaking and collaboration you have with Renan in Turkey.
So we just had our Holocaust remembrance program, and Renan was a very important part of that, and that's a program that we organize with the U.S. Congress each year, and so that's an ongoing project. This year we had Pfizer CEO Albert Bourla tell his family story, and Renan was an important part of that commemoration, and that's part of our work, being able to connect people, what we're doing here in the U.S. and also in Turkey and all around the world, to provide education about the Holocaust. And also, when people think of the Holocaust, they think of a very limited part of the world in very specific parts of Europe, and don't necessarily think about the global effects of it, and also how Turkish narratives also fit into that. And so an important part of that really is being able to connect with someone like Renan, who works on that particular area of education in Turkey and around the world, and also has a repertoire of music related to that. And maybe Renan would like to say a bit more about that. That's certainly one of the key areas that we work on together, which is Holocaust education.
Renan, tell us about Holocaust education and awareness programs that you're engaging. And first of all, I do want to acknowledge, and we look forward to having you as a musician on our program on TASCTV. You're an accomplished composer and pianist, and also a music therapist. Does that also fit into your Turkish Jewish Muslim outreach, and how you inform and educate people on the lessons of the Holocaust? I know strong presence in saving Turks, saving Turkish the Jews of Europe during the Holocaust. If you can please.
Yeah, sure. First, that would be my pleasure to collaborate with you in such programs, in Sephardic music maybe, or the Holocaust program and education together. That would be my pleasure. So how I involved with the Holocaust issue? As you know very well, I'm pianist, I'm musician and music therapist. And years ago, I've been informed about the Theresienstadt ghetto, where located in Czechoslovakia, back then Czech Republic today. So when Nazis invaded Theresienstadt and they constructed a ghetto and the concentration camp there, so they imprisoned many artists and veterans as well. It was a very special ghetto and the concentration camp. So they prohibited people, of course, the Jewish people to produce something. But even though they weren't allowed to do anything, but they continued to perform, they continued to compose, they continued to write poetries, they continued to do some artwork and everything. So one day it came that about when the Red Cross wanted to visit. So then they were allowed to do many things, but at the end of the day, at the end of these concerts and everything that they were allowed to, they were directly sent to the death camp. So it was prohibited. So and I was very curious about what was the works and who were the composers, and I made a very large how do you say? I wanted to know what it is. So I knew about the composers, about the work, and I had some scores and choral scores and the piano scores. And I started to practice. And I gave a concert in Turkey for the first time, like the big Holocaust concert. And then I said that, well, if these composers compose in such circumstances, so they have a gift for the youngsters today for the world, not only for Jewish youngsters, for everybody. And I name it as positive resistance. Why? Because it was prohibited. It was very poor life conditions, shelter conditions, and they were struggling as well. In these circumstances, if they were composed something, it's very important. So I have to teach the youngsters how they can find their own strength. So I designed an educational program. That's how my music therapist side into it. And I named it Holocaust Reality Through Positive Resistance, or vice versa. And what I do, I go to schools by myself, and I tell about the Holocaust, how happened and what happened, in which circumstances were there. And then I start to play, and then I invite the youngsters to share with me about their feelings. This is the first step of education. And then we're talking, and they share with me about their feelings, and I ask them, what would you do in your difficult circumstances? What do you do, or what you would like to do without any hate speech, without any crime, without anything bad? What would you do? What would you construct a positive thing? Or how do you react to other person? So we started to work on it as well. And then every year, this is the second step of the education that I named March of the Music. Every year, I take some of the students to Terezin, and we are become to a part of a festival there. So they meet other musicians, they meet other musicologists and many people. And also there's a special program in this March of the Music that they meet with a survivor. And then we will prepare for questions to the survivor, and they ask, they have a conversation, so they know what happened, how happened, and how they were very, very strong in these circumstances. And then I tell them that, okay, we're going to this trip, and you will know more about this, but I would like to have, you have to create a product, because the production, to be productive, is very important to me, and is very important part of this project, education. So then they product maybe music, maybe an article, maybe an artwork, maybe some other thing, according to their talent, according to their education. They product something, and then I promote this product to the world. Actually, today, we had an album recording at the studio of their products. So the album is coming very soon.
We look forward to the album. That is a beautiful project.
Thank you. I really enjoy a lot. Maybe enjoying is the bad word for this, but I really enjoy a lot when I see them, they product something, and when they're changing, they're transforming. It's so miracle for me.
It is definitely a miracle. It's fulfillment that overflows and then must express itself in art. That is, congratulations. That is a beautiful project.
Thank you so much.
I'd like to add one thing. If I may, that Renan is, very, very valuable, the work that she does. And a big part of what we do is to, I say, Renan, you're very valuable, mashallah. Also part of the culture that I grew up with.
Thank you so much.
And a big part of what we do is to be able to give people the space to be able to tell their stories and to be able to showcase the talent that they have. And so that's an important part of our relationship with Renan. And you mentioned the Turkish Festival earlier, which takes place every year in the heart of DC, in Freedom Plaza. It was organized by ATA DC. And that's also what we do there, is to, we're very thankful to the festival for giving us a space to be able to share those voices and to be able to share the talent and in our communities. And for example, showcasing Ladino music on the festival main stage each year, or having a Sephardic cultural tent where we let people know about the culture and also about the various resources that are available to learn more. For example, from Renan, or also Karen Shahon in Turkey. And one thing that we're also thankful for is each year, El Amanecer, which is the Judeo-Spanish newspaper in Turkey, covers the Turkish Festival in DC and the work that we do there. And so it provides a way for us to be able to connect the various communities and to be able to bring the Jewish community in Turkey into the work that we're doing here. And
Franz, you are definitely building bridges, not only among the beautiful diversity of Washington, D.C. and America, but also between people in the United States and people in Turkey, and all in the celebration of culture. What comes to mind is you are, the both of you, Renan and Franz, you're building bridges among young people. And we have a program at TASC called Youth Bridges, and we had our semi-annual board of directors meeting last week. And our Youth Bridges would like to include Jewish Americans coming to Turkey. These are young people. Again, it's college students, high school students coming to Turkey and to explore Turkey's Judaic heritage. And like I said at the very beginning, it's very rich. The Turkish Judaic heritage is ancient. I mean, my family comes from Manisa, and near Manisa there's Sardis, and there's one of the oldest synagogues you'll see there. It's an ancient site. And then there's contemporary Jewish heritage of Turkey. There's 19 synagogues in Istanbul alone. And then there's synagogues that are active in other parts of Turkey, like in Ankara and in Izmir. So, Renan, tell us about the Jewish community of Turkey, of Istanbul. I've asked this question because I am fully aware and I have been engaged, and I have friends and of course a history. But Renan, share it as an Istanbul Jewish Turk.
Well, thank you for the question. We have very rich, like human source rich Jewish community in Turkey, in Istanbul. And as you said, we have many synagogues, active synagogues, and we have elderly age home, and we are very active in the community. So in the big community, like in the city, we are very active. So what would you like to know about the Turkish community more?
Yes. How do you share your heritage with the broader community of Istanbul? Do you have programs, activities, a festival? Do you have lectures at the universities? Definitely there is a strong history that goes back to the Ottoman times and Ottoman Empire saving Jews from the European Inquisitions. Then you have the history of the Holocaust, where Turkish diplomats are giving immediate Turkish passports to as many people as possible, and because Germany won't be able to touch Turkish citizens. Turkey is a neutral power, and with that, Turkey brings many more Jews, thousands from the Holocaust to Turkey. Part of that community, of course, are academicians and scientists who eventually come to the United States, but they first teach at the universities of Turkey. Arnold Reisman has a book on this, very informative. I would recommend it to all our viewers. So yeah, I just wanted to learn more about the interaction.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So we have a very powerful newspaper, like Shalom newspaper, and we have a very powerful Shalom magazine. So that is the one branch to have interaction with the broader community. So we have many non-Jewish writers and very, very accomplished, valuable people. So this is the one branch. And another branch is the very important one, the Quincentennial Jewish Museum. So it's open to everyone. And you may find a really very valuable heritage there, Turkish Jewish, Ottoman Jewish heritage. You can find many things in there. So also we have lectures, and once a year we have European Jewish Day. So we do many activities like concerts, lectures, and like a wedding or food. So many things in this day. So it's in our synagogue or a mall. We use many venues about this, but the key point is to open this culture to broader community. So we have also to Meet Us Day. So we have very valuable and accomplished people in the community, and they sit whole day, and the people, non-Jewish people, come and talk with them and ask many questions as much as they would like to ask. So we have many things to do with interaction.
Yeah, tell us about Ladino, Franz or Renan, the language, and how we bring life to it in modern day Earth, modern day Turkey. And I know that in Turkish we use a lot of Ladino words like sandalye and fasulye. Turkey's one of main courses of the heartland, the bean stew with meat is called fasulye yemeği. So tell us about. I didn't realize this. I'll tell you, I grew up in San Francisco, and we had all the Turkish parents got together. We're all seculars in San Francisco, and they got together and they said, we want to learn about Turkish history, geography, and the religions of Turkey. And we didn't have an association at that time. We didn't have a building at that time. And the synagogue said, hey, why don't you use our activity room? So we had a Turkish Sunday school, so to speak, in the activity room of a synagogue, and to learn about our heritage. And there we learned about fasulye and sandalye and Ladino. So a little bit of an introduction into it, but please talk to us about Ladino.
Well, it's vice versa. We have many Turkish words as well. Sometimes our ancestors made some Turkish words like Spanish. Like we have really funny expressions, So as you know, the Ladino is coming from Spain. So when they came, the language and the culture came with them too. And it stayed like this, and it stayed like 500 years. It's very unusual for a language that can live that long. It's very, very unique language. So, and then it counted one of the registered, one of the Ottoman languages. It's so beautiful. I find it's so beautiful. Now today, the people say it doesn't live anymore, but it lives, I think. Some of the people still speaks about this. Speaks Ladino, and the young people wants to learn Ladino now.
Yeah, well, yeah. I think the fact that it existed, I think to some extent, or to a good extent, the millet system of the Ottoman Empire permitted the religious groups of Turkey to be governed by their own religious laws and governed by their own religious leaders. And the Jewish heritage flourished under that system. And then with Atatürk and the Republic being created, then we have a secular system where, again, the state cannot impose a religion, cannot favor a religion. It's called separation of church and state in the United States. Renan, can you tell us about the religious leader of the Jewish community of Turkey and how it all works? I know it's also, we talked before the program, it is the position is also recognized by the Republic of Turkey.
Yeah. Our religious leader, that we call Hahambaşı of Turkey, Rav Isaac Haleva, now today, and it's the legal recognition by the government. I think it stayed from the Ottoman times, because the Ottoman times used to work like this too. It's the leaders were if I'm not mistaken, were like this. So we have, the religious leader of ours is Rav Isaac Haleva, the Hahambaşı of Turkish Republic.
Yeah, and he oversees all the synagogues, I suppose.
Sorry?
Is that how it works? He oversees all the synagogues of Turkey.
Not only the synagogues, and also the religious board. We called it Bettin of Turkey.
Bettin. And what is the mission of the religious board? And also you're on a different board, the Counsellor's board. And how are they different, and how do they work together, and what are their missions and visions?
Okay, visions are endless, but missions are religious board is take care of the synagogues and the religious rules. For example, all the religious rules, the prayers, and also like the bar mitzvahs, the weddings, and everything. Counsellor board is a little bit different. Counsellor board is a secular board. It's still the counsellors of Hahambaşı. But we are dealing with the daily problems, our institutional problems, and many problems which are the secular problems, not the religious, but the secular, the daily life and institutions, so on.
So at this time, Turkey has the highest population of Jews of the Ottoman Empire, second to Israel, as I understand.
That is correct. There are about 280,000 Turkish Jews living in Israel, whereas in Turkey you have now about 22,500, and here in the U.S. you have about 15,000. And you were talking about Ladino earlier on, and it is on UNESCO's list of endangered languages. And so part of the work that we do in terms of raising awareness and promoting the culture is to promote Ladino. And we're not the only ones who do it, but the hope is that all of the work that we do, has a positive effect in terms of a renaissance, so to speak, of Ladino. And so certainly, they said, there's a lot of work being done out of Turkey. We have the Ladino paper, El Amanecer, which I mentioned earlier. And, there's also a lot of work that's done with the Ottoman Turkish Sephardic Culture Research Center in that regard. And I would say during the pandemic, Ladino has become sort of a place of refuge, so to speak, for people during the pandemic, because of more opportunities to be able to engage online, to be able to speak with people being able to communicate with each other in that way. Because, like I said, you have 280,000 Turkish Jews in Israel, and you have 15,000 here, and of course the Jews in Turkey. That's a lot of distance.
Yep.
That's going from one end of the globe almost to the other end. And so I think one of the positive things that we've seen during the pandemic is people being able to connect, or people connecting more online using the various technologies, because we've been forced to. And so we see a positive in that sense, and you thought, why didn't we think about that before? And another important thing, I said, with the number of Turkish Jews in Israel, it's also important to keep those cultural channels open all the time. And one of the things I think about, during the pandemic, I believe the first event that we had online was the screening of the film Ermana, which tells the story of the Jews of Ankara, and is directed by Anver Arcak. And one of the things that was, that's sort of part of the narrative of the making of the film, is that in order to be able to really be able to have to hear all the various stories about the Jews of Ankara, he had to go to Israel in order to do that. And that's why it's really important to keep those cultural channels open, to use whatever technologies we have to be able to do that. And certainly at the Turkish Festival, we also promote Ladino, whether it's the singing on the festival stage or having people come to the Sephardic cultural tent to learn more about Ladino, the resources, games to learn Ladino, or writing your name in Solitreo, one of the Ladino scripts. So, yeah. So you, brother, I said we're spread out, and I think just that Ladino has been able to survive in Turkey for the period of time, Turkey, the Ottoman Empire, for the period of time that it did, is truly remarkable. Because even you think as a Turkish American, how secure do you feel that your children and grandchildren will speak Turkish here?
So right.
And I think that's something that any immigrant family to this country can attest to. And so to be able to keep, Judeo-Spanish, Ladino, to have that alive for so long is truly remarkable. And, and it's certainly why we all need to fight for it, not just Jews, but also non-Jews, because it's just an important part of human heritage and who we are as human beings, and the things that are important to us, the things that enable us to connect, and for Turkey's Jews, a big important part of that is communication, Ladino, and which also underscores which is really a key point, that we have to keep communicating and keep those cultural channels open.
In terms of
may I add something? I would like to add something. First, I would like to quote from Karen Charhon, who is an expert of Ladino, and she's saying that it's amazing how Ladino lived like 500 years, because as Afraim said, the first generation who immigrated speak the language, okay, and the second generation still speaks a little bit, and the third generation doesn't speak but understands. The fourth generation vanishes. So, but it didn't happen with Ladino. It's amazing. And I would like to add something to the Turkish Jewish people who lives in Israel. The Turkish Jewish people who immigrated in 1970s still keeps Turkish heritage as well. They still speak Turkish as well, not only Ladino, but Turkish as well. It's amazing.
It is a treasure. Yeah. I think we need to improve the communication and interrelations with the Turkish Jews of Israel. I want to reiterate a memory of my father, 43 today, but he said when Israel was created, Turkey was among the first to recognize the state of Israel, and that in Istanbul, people were celebrating in the streets like it was a Turkish national holiday. So we were so happy. The country was happy. And we were in the streets, and there was Turkish flags, and there was the Cross of David on a flag, not necessarily a formal Israeli flag at that moment. But this is after it happened. He was explaining the happiness that he saw in the streets of Istanbul. And I think, the Turkish Jews of Israel, we have got to reach out, and we have to do wonderful programs with them to bring life to Ladino, to sustain Ladino, the language and the culture, and also human-to-human relations, people-to-people relations, cultural with that mentioned Franz.
I think that's important, what you're saying, the human-to-human relations is more important than the cultural to cultural relations.
Yes, it's an example for everybody too. Yeah. And I think in that respect, the Jewish community of Turkey, the Jewish community of Israel are treasures, and they're right there, and we can actually how can I say, talk about the experience, live the experience, and not only for Turks and Jews, but for the broader European. In the United States, definitely. In the United States, we definitely need awareness. But is it possible to Ermana on TASCTV? Ron? I don't think you can hear me. Renan, you can hear me.
No, I mean, yes, but your voice was duplicating it, so I didn't understand what you asked.
I asked Franz, we'd love to.
Oh, I didn't hear what you said.
Sorry, I was asking, is it possible to show Ermana on TASCTV?
I think that's certainly something we can, we can work out with Anvar Arjak, and I think it's a wonderful idea of something that we can do, to be able to connect.
That would be wonderful. And also, Renan, we have a Oya Hanım, also from Büyükelçisi, who's our Secretary General. She has a wonderful Turkish coffee hour program, and we'd love to have you there, and also to hear the music and hear about your good work in musical therapy and youth outreach. And all the education you do. It would be wonderful.
Yeah, my pleasure. I mean, as for the music therapist aspect, it's very important for a person to meet her or his heritage. It's very interesting to feel the complete himself or herself. It's a freedom to meet the heritage. It's very important. I find it very important what you do.
Very liberating, I would say. And Franz, you had mentioned ATA-DC. Definitely, we are so proud of the American Turkish Association, ATA DC of District of Columbia. They have that beautiful Turkish festival every year, and you have a Sephardic tent there, and ATA-DC and TASC rent the Turkish Washington Turkish house. So as soon as things can get back to normal with COVID and everyone gets their vaccinations, we will have two things: a lecture under our Embassy Row lecture series about the Sephardim and the Sephardic culture. Renan, you can join us if you are here in Washington, D.C., or by webinar. It would be beautiful. And also, to teach Ladino, how many Sephardim what's the population of Sephardic Jews of the District of Columbia metropolitan area? Franz, would you know? About 25.
First of all, I mean, in the U.S., there are about 200,000 to 300,000 Sephardic Jews, and I would not say that Washington D.C. is the one of the largest populations, but certainly in the area there are many Turkish Jews, and doing the work that we've been able to do, and also if you follow the Ladino culture in the area, you're able to. That's a good way to be able to connect with that community. So in terms of the numbers, it's relatively small. I mean, in the U.S., again, it's already a relatively smaller part of the Jewish population. About 20 to 25%. And when you come to Washington, D.C., numbers are, even smaller. You compare to places like, for example, New York, Miami, Seattle, or Washington State. So I would say not more than probably not more than a couple thousand.
The Turkish House is right there in DuPont Circle, and it's a historic building. We offer Turkish language courses, and it's packed twice a week during pre-COVID. About 120 students were coming, and I believe a lecture on the Sephardic heritage would be very welcomed. Lots of people would come, and I think a lot of people would like to learn Latino. They don't have to be Turkish or Jewish. I think it's just a world culture, and as you said, UNESCO's concerned about its survival. So we can definitely do something like that.
Yes.
I could.
And if I may add one thing, I miss Turkish House. I've spent a good amount of time there. I'm also I'm on the Turkish Festival committee, and so I do miss being able to come together in Turkish House and. Even though it's work, planning a festival, and you mentioned people who are who are not Jewish and maybe even not Turkish, learning Ladino, and I would say one of the things that impressed me very much when I began on the Turkish Festival committee is the diversity of people that are not only interested in Turkish culture, but really working, really putting a lot of work into it. And I think that that's part of the beauty of culture, or as you say, also the beauty of the human interaction, which culture helps to facilitate. And so I really do look forward to coming together in that way and doing something and, being able to have more of those experiences at Turkish House again as soon as we're able to.
It is a fun place. We enjoy the cultures of many heritage communities there. We have, for example, Macedonian Christmas, with our Macedonian American friends. I kind of are subjective on that because my grandmothers were Macedonian, my grandfathers were Albanian, and so we can definitely also do similar programs, not just with Sephardim, but with Judaism, Jewish heritage. Again, Ottoman Empire was diverse, Turkey is diverse, and it's an honor to of diversity for the common good. I was going to ask a favor. Can you hear me?
All right, so I didn't hear the last thing that you said.
I didn't hear either.
Oh, okay. I was going to ask a favor, Renan.
Sure.
Okay. Because
so that means that that means that our ancestors were neighbors. If you were Albanian and I was Castilian.
Yes. So yeah, my grandfather's Albanian, my grandmother's Macedonian, and we were saying we had a Macedonian Christmas. Yeah. We can definitely have Jewish holidays also, because and the Republic of Turkey are very diverse. I think it's an honor to celebrate diversity and mobilize the strengths of diversity for the common good of people, humanity. So the favor I was going to ask as we close our program today, Renan, is how can we say in Ladino First you'll say it in Turkish and then say it in Ladino. Let's see, what should we say? Have a beautiful day and be healthy and be happy.
Oh.
Have a beautiful day. Be healthy. Be happy.
I'm not very strong in Ladino, but let me try. So maybe Afraim can help me.
Well, you can help us with the first part.
Sure.
Have a beautiful day. Well, say it in Turkish, Renan, and then Franz will say it in...
Yeah, start with the Turkish and then... you start with the Turkish. I'll go from there.
İyi günler dilerim, or something like that. Renan, Renan, you say it in Turkish then.
İyi günler.
İyi günler dilerim, right?
Buenos días, Clara día, día alegre.
Aha, beautiful.
Correct? Afraim.
Yes, say buenos días, or, días buenas que tengas, have a good day.
Sono Erasio as well. Sono Erasio.
Right.
Very much. It was a pleasure to have you on TASCTV, TASC Roots, as we reach out to our heritage communities, both in Turkey as well as in the United States. We look forward to being more active with you, doing programs with you, having Armana on TASCTV, and also Renan having you on Turkish Coffee Hour or Turkish Tea Time with Oya Bain, and also hearing your music and your musical therapy work. And Franz, brother, we look forward to having you on what we call the Embassy Row Lecture Series, either in person at the Turkish House or on our webinars through TASCTV. I would like to say sağlıkça kalın, which means be healthy, and mutlu olun, be happy. Have a nice day to you, all of you, and also our viewers, please. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. First Afraim, and then...
so much for having us.
Having us.
Yes, it's a real pleasure.
Likewise.
Is it?